Hey there, I hope you're doing great. Today, we shall deep dive on one of the agile flavors called extreme programming. Extreme programming is a software development methodology, what's collectively known as agile methodology. XP is built upon values, principles, and practices, and its goal is to allow small to mid sized teams to produce high quality software and adapt to evolving or changing requirements. Now, let us see what is extreme programming and how it was evolved. So, XP's origin dates back to the 1990s when Kent Beck developed it during one of his work on Chrysler's Comprehensive Compensation, which is a C3 payroll project. Now, the two major influences which shaped the software development in the 1990s were first, the object oriented programming replaced the procedural programming, and second, the rise of the internet and the dot-com boom emphasized the speed to market and the company's growth as competitive business factors. Now, the need for XP is intended to improve software quality and responsiveness to the changing customer requirements. As a type of agile software development, it advocates frequent releases in short development cycles, which intends to improve productivity and introduce checkpoints where new customer requirements can be adopted. Extreme programming, in a nutshell, is all about good practices taken to an extreme. Extreme programming, as a software development discipline, organizes people to produce high quality software more productively. Unlike other software development methodologies, XP is very opinionated when it comes to engineering practices. Besides practices, XP is built upon values and principles. Now let us see XP values, principle, and practices. XP has 5 values, 5 principles, and 12 practices. Before looking at each one of them in detail, it's important to note that extreme programming software development process starts with planning and all its iterations consist of 4 basic phases in its life cycle. First, designing, second, coding, third, testing, and fourth, listening. Now let us see the values part of extreme programming. Extreme programming is a discipline of software development based on values of communication, simplicity, feedback, courage, and respect. It works on bringing the whole team together in the presence of simple practices with enough feedback to enable the team to see where they are and to tune the practices to their unique situation. Now, let us see the first value, which is communication. The lack of communication prevents knowledge from flowing inside a team. For example, when there's a problem, someone already knows how to solve it, but lack of communication prevents them from learning about the problem or contributing to its solution, thus generating waste. Please note that we shall learn more about types of waste in our Lean series. Extreme programming emphasizes continuous and constant communication among the team members, managers, and the customer. The extreme programming practices, such as unit testing, pair programming, simple design, common metaphors, collective ownership, and customer feedback, focuses on the value of communication. The second value is simplicity. Simplicity says that you always strive to do the simplest thing that works. It's often misunderstood and taken as the simplest thing, ignoring the that works part. Extreme programming encourages starting with the simplest solution first. Extra functionality can then be added later. The champions of XP acknowledges the disadvantage that this can sometimes entail more effort tomorrow to change the system. Their claim is that this is more than compensated for being an advantage, as by not investing in possible future requirements which may become relevant before basic functionality is implemented. Now, the third value is feedback. XP teams strive to receive early and constant feedback. If there is a need to course correct, XPers want to know that as soon as possible. Within extreme programming, feedback relates to different dimensions of the system development. First is feedback from the system. This is normally done by writing unit tests or running periodic integration tests. The programmers have access to direct feedback. Now, feedback from the customer. The functional tests or the acceptance tests are written by the customer and the testers. They can get concrete feedback about the current state of their system. Third is feedback from the team. When the customers come up with their new requirement in the planning game, the team directly gives an estimation of the time that they will take to implement. The fourth value is courage. Kent Beck defines courage as effective action in the face of fear. As a software engineer, you have plenty to be afraid of and therefore plenty of opportunities to show courage. For example, it takes courage to speak the truth, especially the unpleasant ones. For instance, honest estimates. Giving and receiving feedback also takes courage. XP provides courage to the developers in the following way. First, to focus only on what is required. Second, to communicate and accept feedback. Third, to tell the truth about progress and estimates. There can be several more to this list. Now, the fifth value is respect. Respect is a deep value, one that lies below the surface of the other four values. XP is all about that everyone cares about their work and everyone contributes. No amount of technical excellence can save a project if there's no care and respect. Every individual or person affected by a software development project is worthy of dignity and respect. Now, let us see the principles of extreme programming. The principles that forms the basis of XP are based on the value just described and are intended to foster decisions in a system development project. The principles are intended to be more concrete and more easily translated to guidance in a practical situation. The first principle is feedback, which is receive early and constant feedback. This means getting feedback quickly and responding to it fast and not putting it off. The second principle is assumed simplicity. Here, it's important to remember two keywords. First, you ain't gonna need it. And second, don't repeat yourself. Here, it is important to note that the developers need to focus on job that is important at the moment. Third, embracing change. If customer asks for changes, programmers should support how to implement new requirements. The fourth principle is incremental change. Here, it's better to make small changes step by step than to accumulate them and handle them all simultaneously. The fifth principle is quality work. A team that works well together certainly creates a superior product and takes pride in the end result. Now, let us see practices under extreme programming. The extreme programming has been described as having 12 practices grouped into four areas. Those are feedback, continuous process, shared understanding, and programmers' welfare. Now let us deep dive on the first group, which is feedback. Here, the whole team, which comprises of cross-functional group, contributes as per their role or part to play in the product development. Here, in the planning game meeting, which comprise of the release planning and iteration planning, guides till the product delivery. Before the software is fully developed, the TDD, which is the test driven development, assists in converting the software requirements to the test cases and provides repeated testing of the software against these test cases. In paired programming, two programmers work together at one workstation. One, being the driver, writes the code, while the other, being the observer or the navigator, reviews each line of the code as it's written. Now, the second group is continuous process. Here, the continuous integration suggests that the development team should always be working on the latest version of the software. Whenever there is an update or change in one part of the code may affect many other parts. XP principle suggests that when this occurs, the system is telling you to refactor your code by changing the architecture, making it simpler and more generic. Refactoring is intended to improve the design or structure without changing its external behavior. The delivery of the software is done via frequent releases of live functionality. The small releases helps the customer to gain confidence in the progress of the project. Now let us have a look at the third group, which is shared understanding. Here, the coding standard is an agreed upon set of rules that the entire development team agrees and adheres to throughout the project. The standard specifies a consistent style and format for the source code within the chosen programming language, as well as various programming constructs and patterns that should be avoided in order to reduce the probability of defects. Collective code ownership means that everyone is responsible for all the code. Therefore, everybody is allowed to make changes to any part of the code. Programmers should take a simplest best approach to software design. The system metaphor is a story that everyone should know. That is, your customers, programmers, and the managers can tell about how the system works. The fourth group is programmers' welfare. Here, the concept is that programmers or software developers should not work more than 40 hours per week. And if there is an overtime one week, the next week should not include more overtime. A well tested, continuously integrated, frequently deployed code and environments also minimizes the frequency of unexpected production problems and outages, which in turn minimizes the associated after hours and weekend work that is required. So, this is all for today's session. In our next session, we shall pick on another agile flavor and deep dive on it. In case you have not subscribed to our channel, request you to please subscribe to it and press a bell icon to know about our upcoming post. Thank you for watching.